Right, let me get my cup of tea. BRB. Ow. Bear with me 1 second. There's something I needed to do before we start. I can't remember what it was. If you'd like to ask any questions during the live stream, please, question in brackets would be useful. Right. Boom. Let's click on chat. Hi. How's everyone doing? I hope you are all right today. I'm not going to be on for too long because I seem to be suffering from a cold or something. Hopefully, I haven't got the Doom Death virus. I don't think I have. I've got a sore throat and sort of a bit dizzy, migrainey at the moment. So apologies for that. Going to be talking about, well, whatever people want to talk about. There's got a few things I want to show and tell. Um, and obviously 3.10.1 has gone to live with a load of fixes for Star Citizen. But there's still a load more bugs in it that still need to be fixed, although it's a lot better than the 3.10 sort of original live branch. There's a couple of cool things I want to show you as well. For example, the actress. This is something you should probably have a quick look at first. So this is one of the holograms.
Hi. What can I do for you?
Sort of like vibrating because I'm too close. And then I can ask them questions about something. So, hello, tell me about yourself.
I'm a 9th generation social protocol system.
So the hologram at Microtech, the actress that actually got mocapped and I believe did the voice for her as well, I assume? Yeah, it must be the voice as well because I recognise the voice. Messaged me on Twitter and I chatted to her for a while. And she's got another character in Star Citizen that should be being revealed at some point. And I was like, oh, can you... And she obviously can't tell us anything about that at the moment, but I thought it was just quite interesting. I might try and track down some more of the mocap actors and voice actors that do different parts of the game, because, you know, there's little nuggets of information there and it's interesting to follow them. But Anna was an absolute pleasure to talk to and is a big geek gamer, and yeah, seemed to really enjoy being mocapped for that. So I'd love to interview Mark Hamill. Oh my god. He's sort of like much more so than Chris Roberts or anyone like that. I would fan. Well, maybe I wouldn't fangirl, but I have a huge amount of respect and love for that man. Yeah. You don't have to. I do. But I hope everyone's doing well. It's not been too bad here at the moment. Like, I feel like lockdown. I feel less pressure from lockdown and that sort of stuff, even though I haven't really been out much. I certainly haven't gone to the pub or restaurants yet. Desperately want to go to some restaurants when it's a little bit safer to do so, or a little more sensible to do so. I should probably say. My mum and dad are out of the house now, really regularly. They seem to be. The doctor basically sent a letter saying my dad's sort of like not in the incredibly high risk category anymore, so they don't have to worry about living in the cellar with like the doors locked, which is good. And we're going to see what's happening with his radiotherapy in the next couple of weeks, which is good. I think we'll actually start that. So this stuff's pretty positive here. I'm doing pretty well. As I said, other than a sore throat and a bit of a headache, so it's all pretty good. So, right, what have we got? I'm interested to see if this game will be released before BoredGamer's hype completely dies. I mean, I quite enjoy the project as it sort of like evolves. That's sort of like what I do and am interested in. You know what I mean? Like it's the project warts and all, and the community, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. Sort of like all of it together. However, I do think Cloud Imperium need to speed up development where possible. Obviously, super slow development cycle for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, and they need to be more communicative and share more when it comes to both projects where possible. And I know they share a lot, and I know, but there's periods, like at the moment, where they're just not sharing enough. There's not enough on the roadmaps. There's we've got 3.11 and 3.12 sort of barely. It's quite stressful. So. Earl Grey or EB? I'm not sure what EB is. Any idea for when we might see large capital ships specific to orgs like a Titan variant from EVE Online. So, I mean, there's obviously very large capital ships that they've got planned. Things for... I mean, have you seen the Redemption? Have you seen the Redemption sort of size of Super Dreadnought? There are big ships. There's King's ship for the Vandal. There's the Kraken. I'm not sure how big the Titan variant from EVE is. I know that obviously there are some very massive ships in EVE that are much larger, scale-wise, technically, than anything the Star Citizen's got to offer. So... I sort of drink sort of black tea, which is effectively, I think, probably breakfast tea. Something I do want to show, actually, is that although the core of my channel is always going to be Star Citizen, or at least for the next good few years, I mean, I want to cover the project in its entirety, for sure. I am going to be occasionally doing other games on the channel, or at least streaming them, and... more relevantly to the channel and to Star Citizen, I will be looking at things like No Man's Sky and Dual Universe and lots of other Kickstarters and games that I backed that are similar to Star Citizen in some way, but also Elite Dangerous. Now, played a little tiny bit of Elite Dangerous many years ago, and I was thinking about getting back into it, and Elite Dangerous have sent me some stuff. They sent me a cool little solid box of loot for Elite Dangerous, which I will very briefly open on stream as part of the First Contact initiative. So he sent me a little welcome pack. Even though I already have an account, I'll start a new one, I suppose. And I'll play with potentially Zin and some other people, potentially on stream. We'll do it sometimes on stream. But I want to get an understanding of Elite Dangerous and even EVE stuff now, and be able to make that relevant to Star Citizen, because there's definitely going to be stuff for Star Citizen and other space games that Star Citizen can learn from, and elements of them that work and don't work. And obviously, Elite Dangerous is getting space legs now, and with Odyssey. But they've sent me a schematic. The Cobra, the Cobra Mark III schematic. Which I'll work out a way of displaying and lighting, because that's what they're sort of like. They're supposed to be hologrammy. They've sent me the game. I assume the game on a cool USB key. Some. What else have they sent me? Some earbuds. These aren't Fraycons. Oh wow. A little light. I open them up. The little light comes on. See that? Can you see the light? I don't know if you can. I think it's green screened out. It's a little light that comes on. Some little Razer earbuds. I'm not going to be able to see them very well. But also, and this is... I mean, Star Citizen haven't sent me loads of free shit before. Have they? They haven't sent me lots of free shit. They sent me one of the big, cool Stream Decks. I wanted one of these. I never bought one because they're too expensive. I've got a small little shit one. Zin, I'm going to send you the small little shit one, and I'm going to have this Elite Dangerous branded one. Because it is literally an Elite Dangerous branded Stream Deck. So, obviously, they've got together with Elgato to do something like this. Especially have a branded one. But, yeah, we'll be checking out Elite Dangerous in the future, and I suppose, need to be a bit more informed about some of the other space games to be able to compare them more realistically, to know what sort of like is doable, what isn't doable, and to hold Star Citizen to account more on certain development issues. Maybe not hold them to account, that's probably not my job, or maybe it is. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's some cool stuff. I'll probably talk about it in a video. That's probably what they wanted me to do. Who knows? I mean, Zin, you're basically going to be my manager as well. We can do lots of stuff. Potentially, Zin, what's going to be in your contract? What? I can't remember now. You just ask for what you want. It'll probably be fine. We're going to renegotiate every 3 months or so, probably, or something like that, right? Good. You know, you're only starting in a couple of weeks. We've got loads of time to work that shit out. Do you think that CIG needs to expand their community engagement team by a few more people in order to get information to the backers on a more consistent basis? Yes, I think they need people specifically, or someone specifically, or two people specifically to participate in the meetings every day of what content is actually being created and what's planned. So like a mixture of the planning meetings, but also the content they're showing off, sort of like the review meetings, so they know what's going on at those levels, and then they can report that back to the community. So it'd be specifically, you need people to go on forums, answer questions, start threads, and get those questions answered in threads in a timely manner, answer those questions, sort of like, and then potentially compile them so you can say, look at all the threads we answered this week. Here's the answers to all of these interesting questions, or all of these questions. And also have a weekly post talking about individual development things. So like as part of the, so you've got the roadmap roundup, yeah, which reflects what's on the roadmap. You'd also have this post that just talks about what CIG are working on. Some of it might be relevant to the roadmap, some of it might not be, some of it might be related to hot topics, but they just talk about a load of development stuff there. Bam, nice and simple. Thank you very much, Dylan. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for becoming a Patreon. I'm not sure if you're actually on stream. I've got my feed that tells me everything here. Very much appreciated. But yes, 100%. I want CIG to be more communicative because I'm pretty forgiving on everything else. They can have a huge development cycle. They can miss deadlines. They can have features pushed back as long as they communicate at every possible stage and tell us what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I'm a bit sweary today. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat, and I'm not able to control myself in my normal manner. What's your theory as to why the Talon didn't get the alien tax treatment, and will alien tax be a case-by-case basis? Because the K2AL and Talon have similar hardpoints and weapons and components, but one is 90 and the other is 170. Yes, so I really like the fact that the Talon was $90. That was good. That was exciting. That was a reasonable-ish price for a digital spaceship. That was for people that have that money. I mean, if you look at it and think about it, it's not reasonable, but it is for Star Citizen times. It's a bit of cognitive dissonance for you. Yeah, I was very happy that it wasn't over $100. That was absolutely great. It looks like it's a ship that I would want more than a K2AL as well. I think that the ships, based on their rarity, is partly their value. So, because that ship might not necessarily be supposed to be as rare, that it's cheaper. But yes, case-by-case basis, I'm expecting a mixture of ships value-wise now. So some ships are going to be quite expensive, especially the larger ones, but the smaller ones, even if they're alien ships now, I don't think we're going to see that alien tax in the same way. But I still think we'll see a little bit of alien tax, but just not in the same way, not at the huge amount of alien tax for collector's items. But get the K2AL and the Santok Yai in-game is my what I'd say there. What else have I got? Have you tried mining in the rock out of the Cutlass side hatch? No, I have not. I didn't even think of opening the side hatch out and putting its arm out. That's hilarious. I suppose it would work. You could do drive-bys. Oh my god, drive-by mining. Do you think we're going to get much more added to the roadmap for 3.12? Yes, almost certainly. There's a load of stuff they are working on for back-end services, and a load of it is being pushed for then, sort of like crunch time. 3.12, end of the year, crunch time for a lot of stuff. So expect a lot more to be going on the roadmap for 3.12, and a lot of back-end and tech to be done as well, whether or not that's on the roadmap. It should be in that Q4 patch. At least that's what I believe and what I've come to understand. Do you think that we've talked about that already? Well, there you go. Negotiate so the company has to pick up every other bar tab. Every bar tab. So DC, her partner, he's a cheap date, okay? He doesn't want to drink much. He's not going to have much on the bar. Also, he'd feel guilty anytime you offered him a drink. Zin, on the other hand, she's smart. She's smart. she gets she. Oh, do you remember that cheap we when we went to a private land? I've forgotten all the words in the world. Went to iSeries. There's like big public LAN party. They were out of wine pretty much, other than this cheap trash red wine or rosé wine, which was really expensive per bottle. Oh my fucking god! I went to great lengths to get it as well because there was 2 bottles left, and it was the fucking worst. It was 20 quid for this rough bottle. Oh, it was awful. Ugh. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Zin comes to the office events. So I say office events, office tours, and CitizenCon and Bar Citizens in the UK. Obviously, that'll be offered. I would like to come because then you can do camera work and filming. Oh, that'd be good. Oh my god! At some point in my life, I won't have to do anything, and it will just be handled by you and DC. Because one of the joys of employing Zin is effectively I get a boyfriend to do technical work for me in the background for free as well. Yay! It's not why I'm hiring you, Zin. Yeah, so at the moment 3.10.1, loads of bugs have been fixed, but it is still very buggy. And a lot less buggy than it was though, which is good. But still not a sit down and play game yet with the amount of issues that it's going to have. Well, it's going to lead to a lot of disappointment for people that want to grind and stuff. So 3.10.1 did wipe some people's Alpha UEC and some people's ships. Not necessarily the same people's either. So some people lost ships and money. Some people just lost ships. Some people just lost money. Some people lost nothing. A lot less people than the original 3.10 branch had done. But it did fix the 0 Alpha UEC. So what would you like to see gameplay-wise that isn't already planned to be implemented, and not scavenging, exploration, and piracy, etc.? That's not already being planned to be implemented. Oh. Crafting. So I'd like crafting up to some degree, or manufacture. So I'd like to be able to manufacture my own fuel, munitions, potentially ships. So that would come down to eventually when we have outposts and bases. The way you'd have to dislodge an organisation from a system like Pyro is by taking out their base there, because that would then prevent them from producing fuel, food, munitions and stuff that they'd need to be able to be based there, because there's no way to get enough supply otherwise. They'd have to then move on to a different system, or they'd have to go back into more lawful areas or places where there's more of a human presence to buy the stuff, to buy the munitions, to get their ship services serviced and stuff like that. So that's what I'd like to see. What else have we got here? I don't know. Lord Green from St. Petersburg in Russia. Thank you very much, Alexander Firestone. Greetings to yourself, sir. Has the 3.10.1 patch fixed the ability to summon live partridges from within a leopard skin beret? What? What? This is a bug I don't know about. What do you think the ratio from what we have playable in the universe is to the content that will be worked on for later races? So we don't even have all the core systems. So actual gameplay features and missions and playable content, it's massive what's coming compared to what we already have. We have lots of placeholder and examples, is the way I look at it, for missions and gameplay. Any idea if and when we might see large capital ships? We talked about that already. So they're building the systems in now to be able to support server meshing and a load of more players, basically. And really, to have capital ships in game, but in the players' hands, you need about to have more concurrent players in game. Otherwise, you've got nothing to do. You can't fight an Idris versus an Idris because you can't crew 2 Idrises that fight each other. But in the shorter term, you'll see NPCs with Idris and javelins and stuff as part of missions that you can fight them. And that was actually planned a little while ago to be in the game. Still hasn't appeared. They sort of like showed us what it might be like a little bit during Fleet Week in May, where they had the Idris and javelin there. So expect the like maximum size of ships to be like 3 kilometers sort of thing for like the King ship in Star Citizen. Question: a lot of mission demos we've seen in CIG's demos are not in the PU. Why not? The performance bugs, missing features, or just not a priority? So you say a lot of missions. Obviously, the Squadron 42 demo is a bit different. A lot of missions we do have, though, it's just not the very exact mission. So let me actually put on what you might be talking about. So a lot of the actual individual components and parts of missions we either have now or much more than now. The CitizenCon 2019 demo and the Lear 3 demo. The Lear 3 demo, not really a mission, just sort of like exploring a Javelin wreck that happened to have NPCs on it. We have that Javelin wreck, we just don't have NPCs properly on the ground. We have them in outposts, they sort of work. So bear that in mind. But in... this is not stretched properly. Sorry, the micro makes me a bit more absent-minded, so you'll have to bear with me if I'm sort of like a bit scatterbrained today. Apologies. So here in the CitizenCon demo, a lot of that stuff's actually in-game now. Obviously, the carrots changed somewhat. The coffee machine's not in the game yet, but soon. I've been led to believe soon. Obviously, at the very end of the demo, we had Pyro... not really Pyro, but a clearly a different star in a system, but nothing beyond the actual like entry gateway in Pyro, and jump points going to Pyro. So there's stuff like that is supposed to be coming. Some people think it might be Q4 this year. We'll still see Pyro. Other people think it might be early next year. We'll have to wait and see. We do know that Horizon and Crusader, that's planned to be split across Q1 and Q2 2021. That landing zone and that gas giant to sort of like finish off the Stanton system. But the mission they show in here has them, and is part of multi-part missions, the second part of like a multi-part mission. This has you going to a data center, which is nearby New Babbage, and sneaking in, copying a file onto a disk, basically, and then taking that to the Pyro system. That's the idea. Now, it's a multi-part mission, and it's the second part of a multi-part mission because, I say multi-part mission, because the first part, or at least someone is supposed to do this, they go and steal a lab coat and security card, yeah? And then that allows that next mission to be done. Now, it doesn't have to be the same person that does that. The idea of the Quanta system, when we have it, is that someone will do those missions, and then deliver those items to an NPC, then that NPC will create a next mission. Now, it might be the same player that does it, it might be a multi-part mission direct chain for them, or it might just be like, done that mission, cool, what's next? Oh, we've got a different mission for you to go and do this, cool. And then a different player can come along and do the mission that that other player had started to finish it off, or to start another chain of events. Do you see what I mean? So that's part of the Quanta system, and missions leading on to other missions and affecting the universe. Have CIG or any dev mentioned in the past about a contracts manager rework, like making a better sense of built relationships and the type of contracts you get? So they are pushing for reputation and reputation systems in, and you'll actually hear about a lot more about that pretty soon. Obviously, there's newer UIs and stuff like that that are going into the game as well. But expect much more robust contract system and much better looking mission system. And yes, there's going to be reputation, which will affect your missions that are offered and the people that you meet and stuff like that. Do you think Pyro plus server meshing plus iCache is realistic to expect sometime in 2021? Yes, first stage of server meshing is realistic to expect sometime in 2021. And the rest of that, yes, but before server meshing. iCache, potentially this year. Pyro, potentially this year. Some of it, maybe. Potentially. Optimistically. Do you have high hopes for the server-to-client actor networking rework, and do you think it will improve things considerably? It's a step towards major improvements and essential stuff in the game. It does say that it is supposed to significantly help with rubber banding and a load of the problems that we have with the network code, so hopefully. When will you give up on Star Citizen? I'm not planning on giving on Star Citizen. And even if I didn't enjoy Star Citizen, which I enjoy massively, what I'd do is I'd still probably cover it, like in the form of news. It just so happens that I cover a game that I also really enjoy the project of. But you don't necessarily need to always enjoy the game, and there can certainly be elements of Star Citizen that you dislike, and probably should dislike, and voice your critique of, or at least say what you like about it and what you don't like about it, and try and get your opinions in a constructive way involved in helping create a better game, or the game that you want. And then you sort of have a melting pot of ideas that hopefully leads to a better game. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. I have realised that if I was much more negative about Star Citizen or disliked it, I'd probably get a lot more views in the way that I'm sort of like... I'd have a much bigger channel as well, probably, in the way I sort of present myself. It can't be proven one way or another anyway. That's just an I reckon. But I'm not planning on giving up on Star Citizen. Why would I? When do you guesstimate we could get 3.11? It's supposed to be the Q3 patch. It's loosely planned for the end of September to go live. But obviously we had over a month of delay for 3.10 live. And we typically would have that the Q3 patch moved to October for when CitizenCon is. Man, you look stressed as fuck. It's just a lockdown. I've got a migraine. That's what it is. I've got a sore throat and migraine. And it makes me a bit more scatterbrain and a bit more erratic than normal. It's just... Also, my beard and my beautiful head pulled my hair out me. Had a full head of hair earlier today. Oh! How's my day so far? Yes, all right. Do you still use voice attack? I haven't used voice attack for a while, but I will use it again. Is it me, or are multiple bugs that were supposed to be fixed in 3.10.1 just regressed? I haven't noticed much in the way of bugs that are supposed to be fixed not being fixed. You see what I mean? From 3.10.1. I'm getting rock cargo losses, hangar door issues, and memory leaks. Hangar door issues are certainly still a bit of a thing. I'm not getting memory leaks, though, but other people have said they're getting memory leaks. What do you think of the talent? I'm getting one. I'm probably getting a Shrike. I might buy some other ones for some DCM people as well, so we have a little bit of mixture. I really like them for a light fighter, much more than the Car 2 Al. I like them on paper more than I do the Arrow as well, but I do love the Arrow. If all the man-made objects were removed from the sea, how much would the sea level drop? Just a question that's been on my mind. I don't understand enough about sea level and buoyancy. Understand how much objects in the sea affect the sea, because obviously it's partly to do with the moon as well, and there's a lot going on there. So I don't know. Would it affect the tides? Would it not affect the sea level and just affect how the tides operate? We talked about that earlier. Would you like to see Star Citizen use tech similar to Microsoft Flight Sim 2020? I've got a copy of it. Have not played it yet. That's one of the other games I need to be playing. She was actually talking to me the other day saying, we should play this. I was like, okay, I probably need to understand a bit more about Star Citizen stuff. Who does hold Star Citizen to account? Backers? People on the forums constantly? So it depends what you mean to by account or to account, doesn't it? I'll cover mostly Star Citizen news stuff rather than holding anyone to account, because I try not to overly jam my opinions into everything. I mean, obviously I do have opinions, I do voice them. Are you naturally a beacon of light, or do you shave your head? I'm mostly bald, but I also shave, because otherwise I look like a monk. If you put question in your question, then I'm able to see that it's a question and pick it out, just so you know. And I'm quite far behind on chat. How nimble will the Talon be in comparison to the Arrow or Mustang Delta? They didn't say specifically, but it is going to be very agile, and it is a glass cannon. That's what they said. So I would expect it to probably be more agile than the Arrow. At least in some ways. It's obviously got an odd profile. Isn't it high time we had thing we can grind for? For instance, the better bounty armor you can only get by earning, unlocking by killing X number of criminals instead of just buying MMO. Yes! Obviously I want those things. I think that would make the game a lot better, having stuff that you can get in-game. It's like, but there's a huge amount that would make the game better. Having more players in, having server meshing, having more gameplay loops, having loads of different stuff. It is all slow and delayed, and we want it now. We wanted it 2 years ago. Have they sorted the trade out with the new patch update at 3.10.1? I didn't check, but I didn't see any complaints about it when I had a quick look online. I assume it's been fixed, but I haven't checked. Because it was erratic anyway, the trade bug. So what the trade bug was sometimes when you purchased items, it would take all the money for those items, but it wouldn't give you all of them. And that was inconsistent. Do you think space will feel crowded? 300 star systems and 3 million players? Well, number one, 3 million concurrent players is unlikely. Think more in sort of like, if the game was really popular, 100,000 concurrent players sort of thing. That would be pretty popular. And 300 star systems, well, they've only got 100 to 120 planned. However, the planets are massive. The planets are massive in this game. So just sort of bear that in mind. There's a lot to do. Space is massive. Planets are massive. That is more than enough room for players, even if they had that all on a single shard. Stanton, however, not big enough for 3 million players, in my opinion. As the RSI Odin will probably come in before the Polaris, will that be the loaner for it? I would expect so. If the RSI Odin gunship is a thing and comes out before the Polaris, then I would expect the Polaris, the loaner for the Polaris will be the Odin, but almost certainly. See, Banu King ship. I meant Vandal King ship. My bad. Said Banu earlier. Any word on ship repair and maintenance gameplay loop? It's being worked on. We know to some extent repair is sort of like quite easy for them to do when physicalized components are in, for the V0 version of that. We know that they had a cutting tool that they had planned, which they've now moved off the roadmap, briefly at least. But they've got the sort of like the moving of things being an important feature that they're getting in 3.11 we're getting. I don't remember if it's 3.11 or 3.12 now. Let me bring up the roadmap. So they've got, they're building the gravity tool, which I think is for 3.12. Object push and pull for 3.12. Obviously, we're getting the cargo bays and that sort of stuff. And the tractor beam for 3.12 as well. Refineries for 3.12. 3.11, we are getting the new cargo decks and stuff. So it looks like they're building towards the moving of cargo, but also I would expect the movement of components in and out of your ship, and building towards physicalized components ASAP, but I'm not sure when that will be. When the Javelin does come out, can I join your crew and check it out? Yes, so the idea of the Javelin that I've got is that it's going to be a more community Javelin for people to test out stupid stuff and mess around. So please do. There will be, once the Javelin is in game and we are able to fly it, we'll do regular events, and I'll probably give permissions so that a load of sort of people that I trust can take it out and get it involved with the community, ram it into the sun, whatever you need to do. Get involved with test and ram a load of Auroras into it. Good morning from America. Good morning to America, sir. What else have we got here? What's your view on the UEC purchased ships keep losing over and over again? Can you be more specific, Avis, what you mean by that? What's your view on the UEC purchased ships keep losing over and over again? What? So I lost my ability to read now, so I get migraines and I get blurry vision and sort of issues with light. Do you think server meshing tier 1 would be the first time we get a playable tick rate on the server? So we have erratic but playable tick rates on the servers now. Server meshing should certainly help with that by having people split up a bit more and the server's under less stress. However, they do need to get it to a state where a certain amount of players don't experience tick rate issues on each server. So technically server meshing isn't specifically a silver bullet or a fix for that. But that's just generally more robust network code. Why didn't you join Salty Mike podcast? So he invited me. I was planning to go on, but I had other responsibilities to do some stuff on Sunday. They wanted me for 3 PM and I couldn't be back until 5 PM. Which is basically, I think, when they finished. My time, anyway. I did want to be on. Which bug frustrates you the most currently? Desync while fighting NPC ships, I suppose, at the moment. How are you? I'm alright, thanks. A little bit erratic today. Galador, thank you very much. Very much appreciated for becoming a sub. Oh, and Sergeant Jack Morgan and Zek9. Oh, Sin Zero, it's you, you monster. Thank you very much, sir, for donating a load of subs. Very much appreciated. Oh, you star. And the Mad Rambo. What's going on? Zek9? What? 5 people or 3? Pinnacle High, thank you very much, sir. Very much appreciated. Lots of weird emotes appearing. I don't fucking know what's going on there. The Hyper Tiger, Hyper Crate, Hyper Jump, Hyper Slam, Hyper Cooldown. What is this? What else have we got here? Do you know if there are console commands to show other frame buffers like Z? So there, you can show info 1, 2, and 3, I think. 0, 1, 2, 3 for more info. On my website, there's a guide on how to do that. The user config stuff. New player here, can you explain the end game of Star Citizen? What is the game planning to be when it's completed? So, Star Citizen's sort of like a sandboxy space sim MMO, which is going to have the economy driving player actions that want to do escorts and combat, and obviously originally and largely focused on spaceship combat, but it is going to have this huge economy that supports and sort of helps players make those decisions and drive those decisions with sort of like universe sim. So you're going to be able to build outposts on planets, you're going to be able to fight over resources in different systems, and it's sort of like they want 100 to 120 systems eventually that are highly detailed with huge planets. So yeah, building bases, there's medical gameplay where you're going to be doing search and rescues and trying to save players. There's mortality, so you can die, although you won't be able to just like instantly die once and you're dead. If you keep on dying or whatever, you can't be constantly saved, potentially, and you'll have to create a new character, although you will get the assets of the previous character sort of thing, is the idea there. There's going to be obviously a huge amount of ships to get. There's salvage gameplay, there's mining gameplay, as I said, there's base building, big org battles, shipboarding, all these ground vehicles, and a huge amount of different ways of people using those mechanics to do lots of different stuff. So for stealth, for boarding, for ship capture, for piracy. But it's basically this big economy simulation in space where there's a huge amount of NPCs. It's not a player-run economy, it's a player-influenced economy. There's going to be like 10 NPCs-ish for every player that sort of help drive the economy. And these massive capital ship battles and stuff like that. So it's the easiest, quickest way of describing it without doing a 20-minute sort of like individual look at all of this stuff in brief is it's a little bit like Eve, but first person and with a huge amount of fidelity, and you are not your ship, you are your character in your ship, and you can do a huge amount. You don't actually have to be flying your ship around all the time. You can be a crew member on a ship, you can be doing repair, you can be manning a gun turret, you can be doing security, you can be part of the drop pod forces or Marines and that sort of stuff. And you're all working towards a goal. I mean, you could play it solo, but you probably wouldn't want to by any means. It's very much a group and organisation-based game. So bear that in mind. But first person, Eve 2.0 is what a lot of people would compare it to, or like Elite Dangerous, but much more of a focus on a smaller amount of systems, but a huge amount more fidelity, and sort of like, obviously, walking on planets is coming in Elite Dangerous, but Star Citizen, it's going to be huge amounts sort of more detail and fidelity and stuff to do that. There's going to be alien animals, and there's various other alien races, and there's a lot going on, is the idea, and they want to have these stories of these giant space battles and things like that as well. So there's a lot to do, and a huge amount I would forget without listing it, and I've done lots of videos on it before, so feel free to check out my channel and have a look. What's your favourite band and music style? Metal, punk, ska. Do you believe we will have different radio stations in the verse like in GTA? I hope so. It makes sense that they do that. And the end game in Star Citizen is sort of whatever you want it to be. Just being a good combat pilot, or helping your org win battles, or it could be that you want to be particularly good at making money and have a huge amount of money and run an organisation, or there's a huge amount of stuff you could do, or be a racer. Do you think mission rewards are too low? Yes, I do. Massively too low. Compared to mining and hauling, they make pennies. I totally agree. But I think the idea is that you want it to do is chain missions and then get more rep and then have access to more missions. But I still think even the lower end missions should make a lot more money. I think that the flight model is still being developed, yeah. What would your preference for the future of flight be? Many want a Battlestar Galactica flight feeling, or Star Wars X-Wing. I love Battlestar Galactica, so I'd probably want that flight model more. But I'll just see what I'm given. I'm not the best person to make decisions on the flight model, or even describe what I want, because I'm not really sure until it's in my hands. I just want something that's competitive, that other people enjoy, that I can then get on board with. Like, I'm happy to learn pretty much anything that other people are enjoying. That's sort of, I'm quite a social player, and when it comes to things like that, I'm never going to be the best pilot, but I might be pretty good at the economy stuff, and I can be a relatively good pilot. It'd be interesting to see exactly where the skill floor and skill ceilings lie with Star Citizen. Have they said why they keep pushing salvage off the roadmap? They haven't really said, other than it's not ready, and they're prioritising other things. We do obviously need salvage. I think they might be waiting for physicalised components. That's the most obvious thing, and iCache, which they are clearly working on now. Yes, so for rough stability, when they're working out when a patch should go to live, at least their old way of doing it was to making sure that, on average, you could play for at least 2 hours without encountering a crash or that sort of game annoying problem that you'd have to relog. I did not realise that SpaceX was streaming right now. I probably would have watched that rather than stream. But I'm not going to be on too long anyway, so... is there any plans to add some kind of compass, at least an atmosphere on the ground? There's going to be ways of being able to navigate better, sort of either mini-maps or updated map systems or coordinates or something like that. We just don't know exactly what it's going to be. Maybe it will be a compass of some description, but ways of navigating, ways of sharing that data, ways of putting waypoints in, all that sort of jazz. Obviously, they know it's essential and needed. You think the Anvil Crucible will be a soloable NPC ship? With NPC crew, yeah. You can always run most ships, I would expect, with an NPC crew. It might even be fully soloable. Do you think that all of these modules wouldn't hinder the experience of very large-scale battles? Fleet org versus fleet... Or what? So two big fleets fighting. That's if that was possible from the first place. What? I'm confused by that question, sorry. Any word on the Redeemer? Will it have any issues with hovering since it's a different kind of tech to fly? It will probably have rotatable fuel engines. What's the best way for noobs to get in and going? Is the playerverse friendly? I think the playerverse is pretty amazing. Probably one of the best communities I've ever been part of. Obviously, there's extremes if you go onto to some of the forums, and which you will get with any game. So sort of bear that in mind. I would suggest getting an org, get involved with an org, and they will play with you, care for you, love you, becomes friends with you. Typically, there's a billion different orgs out there as well that you can sort of like find one that matches your preferences. Also, if you want to learn the game, lots of YouTube videos, but also there's a guide system. If you go on the Spectrum forums, there's literally a guide system where you can go, I want to learn this, and then someone will turn up pretty quick and get into a game together, and they teach you that in-game. Do we have proper audio desync at the moment? Apologies if we do. Man, I met a guy camping my cat full of 1.4 million Laranite waiting for me to open the cargo elevator, just sprint in the pilot seat and ram it in the landing pad. Oh. Yeah, I haven't had many problems with people ramming me, to be honest. So we know the Hull C is pretty much done. How far do we think the rest of the series has progressed? I don't know. I'm not sure if they're working on the Hull A, B, and E. The Hull C obviously was finished for their Squadron 42 needs, but they needed to get some extra technical hurdles finished for the Hull C to put it in the persistent universe, and those technical hurdles, or the rest of the tech, is either being worked on now or finished already. So I'm hoping we see the Hull C for the end of the year in the persistent universe. Are there any news and plans on making thrusters and flames more consistent with the ship's speed and behaviour? Kinda breaks immersion. I don't know. I would expect so, but I don't know. Thanks for the love, I appreciate that. When you say 3.10.1 is buggy, does that mean still a lot of 30k crashes? Less 30k crashes, much more stable. I have not encountered a 30k crash or a 16k crash since I've been playing 3.10.1. But I suspect they are still there. But I've not heard people complain about 30k issues. So that says, to me, it's probably a lot more stable. Shouldn't we have an in-game sword or katana representing the Tavaran? I would like to see some more melee weapons, yeah. I would expect their melee weapons to be more taloned or trident-y, sort of like a clawed. You know what I mean? So bored, I've been thinking about a full org based on military roleplay, full with ranks from private to officers and admirals to run kind of a space navy for hire. Thoughts? I love the idea. It's hard to start an org and it's hard to organise an org unless you have the right people in that org to help you organize it. So just bear that in mind. If you can get the organization together of the org, oh my god, I'm using the word organization too much. If you get the structure and the right people in that org, then that will work. Do you think at the end of the year they will release a big ship, Polaris, Idris, Banner Merchantman, maybe? So, as far as I'm aware, the Polaris is probably going to be done before the Banner Merchantman, but I haven't heard of anything massive coming this year, other than potentially that RSI Odin gunship. It wasn't even sure if it is coming this year. Like things like the Idris and the Javelin might be in-game NPCs to be able to fight. So you might see them as part of missions and go and attack them, but they shouldn't be in player hands at that stage. How late do you think 3.11 will be, given they still haven't started some on aspects of it? Death animations, elevator panels. So a lot of that stuff obviously can be pushed back if it needed to be, but I would also expect a lot of that's actually received work, just hasn't been updated properly on the roadmap. They don't update the roadmaps correctly. That's partly because they're building new roadmaps, which is the roadmap sort of meme joke has come from. They are updating these roadmaps with a whole new system. How does Star Citizen currently run on laptops? It doesn't matter if it's a laptop or a PC, or like a desktop. It's literally based on your spec. So laptops can still have pretty powerful specs. Would you want a carbon copy of Star Trek ships? No. Well, I probably would because it would be cool, but not really. Hey, Bud, was wondering if you're going okay if this... What? What? I'm very confused by your question. When do we get proper inventory management, suits storing in ships, etc.? So that's part of the physical inventory system, which they are working on, and they're trying to get in for the end of the year, I believe. So they want you to be able to store these sort of things on ships. They've been putting weapons racks in ships and getting them functional. The iCache and physical components are sort of related to that quite well. They are related to it in some way. So sort of stuff they have been working on. Hoping we see it for 3.12 later this year. 2 or 3 30Ks for me day one. Okay, but is that over 1 hour? Or was that over? Is that one every hour? Was that a lot more? Are you, Solly Mike and Saurus, going to do a redacted video again soon? Yeah, I'll say to them, look, sorry I couldn't be there last time. Let's do something. Sure. Thoughts on the engineering cart, SimPods, and other items selling in the new Apple shop on Microtech? So they should all be things that we are able to purchase at some point. There's going to be lots of flair and other functional items and modular items and whole modules for ships. They're going to have function. And they will be purchasable at some point. Legacy bugs like the 30k bug, when do you think bugs like that will be extinguished? So 30k bugs specifically are just disconnection, whether that server's crashed, whether you've crashed, with your hub went offline, something like that. So 30ks will always be in the game in some way, even if they are only one person's getting them every 3 days or something like that. Like they're still going to happen because it's just, well, if you turned off your hub, you'd still get that problem. See what I mean? So it's more of a descriptive thing. But general server stability and those happening not to everyone commonly, that will be fixed at some point. Any tips on how to grow an org? Come up with a clear plan, get some right people in the org to help you with the org so you can actually have structure, and then play regularly, and then people will come. Run the org in the way that you want to run the org and play and enjoy it, and then you'll get more and more and more and more people. Just make sure you've got the structure for them to be able to participate. Hey, Board, big question. Are you moving off Patreon because of the Owen... isn't it Carl Benjamin rather than Owen Benjamin? There's Patreon lawsuits because it doesn't look good for Patreon and it could bankrupt it. I'll be dynamic and move with the times. Not overly worried about Patreon dying, but if they did, then we'd use something else. If people wanted to support the channel, I suspect they'll still support the channel. I mean, you can... I think the best way of supporting the channel is however you're most comfortable doing that, whether that's becoming a YouTube member, or Twitch subs, or direct donations, or Patreoning, or whatever. We'll have merch and other stuff in the future as well. I'm going to get Zin to make. Thanks, Zin. Do you think we will see alien hand weapons for humans? Yes. Do you play with the BoredGamer moniker? On one of my accounts, yes. My other accounts, some of them I will obviously keep them reasonably hidden. I want to be able to do stuff without people going, "It's BoredGamer!" I love you, Sin-Zero, by the way. Mwah. The best. Follow up on my previous question. In 3.10/3.9.1, players purchase ships with Alpha UEC in game, and the long-term persistence keeps on failing, and people lose their ships from patch to patch. What's your view? It's Alpha, so it's to be expected. Cloud Imperium did say there will be wipes from time to time, and I literally talked about it earlier today in a video. It's really annoying and stressful that it's inconsistent. 17 months, Dalamars. Thank you so much. You're a star. Oh, I love you, mate. You are a legend. 17 months is a long time. Ugh. I'm so sorry that you've had to watch me that long. But yeah, but long-term persistence, being inconsistent. Some people losing the Alpha UC, some people losing their ships and items, some people losing both. We were losing neither from patch to patch is just really annoying. But as long as it gets sold before the final wipe, I'm sort of happy. The playable part of the Alpha is a challenge for CIG, for sure. Will CIG be able to make any real gameplay advancements to progress the game before 2021? I hope so. If so, which ones do you believe we will see implemented? iCache, back-end service updates for more stable servers, and better redundancy for a load of the systems. Because they get overloaded and need restarting. But at the moment, if they restart any of the services, or some of the services, the actual servers go down, and we don't want that. So they could handle a load of the back-end services, just having redundancy and being able to restart and then another one take over from them. iCache and physicalized components are potentials there. That's the main ones I want to see, really. Hope you're doing well, Matachi, mate. When do you think we'll see a 3.10 pillar talk? I don't know. I hope we see one. Right? We need to see Chris Roberts at some point. I think that would chill people out a lot. Yeah, so the iCache is so essential now because if you look at a load of the bugs that are in the current 3.10.1 live build, a lot of them, to me, seem like they are not getting fixed, or they're sort of stacking up now because they need iCache to solve them. And they've gone, well, no point in solving these bugs because they'll take a while to solve if we're just going to put iCache in and it solves them or creates a whole new list of bugs. They're solved, but we've got new bugs. It's a pretty solid bid, thanks. I'll be growing it and doing and trimming it and stuff. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the beard love. It does take away a little bit from people looking at the top of my head and going, wow, you're a fucking bald ginger freak. Like ginger beard. Ginger beard. I'm not ginger, but my beard is ginger. It's weird. Could Star Citizen buy Hellion? I did. So I played Hellion a bit, and it felt like it got abandoned. I need to take a look at Hellion again. Played it and went, it's a bit overly complicated, but cool. Noob trading victim here. Can you send me some Alpha UEC? What? Oh my god, I love the begging for Alpha UEC, and I love the fact my auto mod picked it up. No begging. Only person allowed to beg here is me. For your money. Donate kindly. Pew, pew, pew. Thanks. Oh my god. When will wormholes and multiple systems be roughly coming? Any news? We don't know. They wanted them in. They wanted the Pyro system and the first jump point in by the end of this year originally, but we're not sure what's happening with that now. And Cloud Imperium have not told us. So it's possible that we'll still see it Q4 of this year. That'd be great. It's possible we won't. Is the game worth playing now? As a tourist attraction, yes. every major patch, having a look and going, this is cool, this is cool. Oh my god, I've crashed. Why has this happened? Why is my head upside down in a planet? But some of the cool stuff you can do in the game, and the beauty of it, and like as a tourist destination, going, oh my god, oh wow, look, that's cool. It's very, 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 very cool for that for every major patch. If you can get in an organisation that you like, then you can have hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of fun. Those are the two major ways of experiencing Star Citizen, in my opinion. Pyro will be ready for 3.12, but they may delay adding it to 4.0 in Q1 2021. I've got no 100% confirmation of anything like that. But that does seem a reasonable theory. Will tax evasion be a thing? I can secretly hack funds to a friend to avoid paying the fee. Maybe you won't have tax sending money to other players in certain systems or certain areas. Maybe. So I don't know. Does the project feel like it's picking up momentum and expanding more rapidly than in previous years? No, because CIG are not communicating a lot of stuff. So at the moment, there's a lot of feeling of being obscured from a lot of the roadmap, from Squadron 42, and for general information. So we're getting a lot still. We're getting a good amount of information, but we're not getting a lot of the information that we want. So still sharing stuff and going, oh, the development's still happening and everything, but a lot of stuff's obscured. So it's hard to judge whether or not we're hitting a wall, or if we're going full steam. Do you know what I mean? My current issues with Star Citizen, other than long development cycle and obviously bugs in the game, which generally annoy everyone, is that they do not communicate enough. And when they do communicate, they don't necessarily communicate what we want, and it is pretty obvious a lot of what players want. Not everything. I mean, obviously lots of people are going to have lots of different views and want different things, but there's a lot of stuff that is commonly should be given, which isn't. Like, any updates on if they're still on course for Squadron 42 and what's happening with that. Roadmap for 2021. What's happening with Pyro and jump points this year. Any guess when they'll announce the online event in place of CitizenCon? No, but I would expect someone in September, probably. So it's not really. It's instead of CitizenCon. I don't think it's going to be this huge major thing. Because obviously they've got the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo in November, which will be a big thing. So interesting to see what they've got instead of CitizenCon, or in place of it, or whatever. If they were not hitting a wall, would they not communicate that things are a-okay? No, not necessarily. I would never expect everything to always be a-okay. There's always going to be elements that are delayed and struggling, and other elements that are making great headway and are on target. It's very few times they're going to be like resolving stuff before a target, because the target will be semi-optimistic when they're sort of like working stuff out. So, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with delays. I'm fine with problems. I'm fine with them having to rejig and retool and redo stuff and whatever, as long as they tell us. But no, everything might be mostly going well, or only slightly delayed, and they'd still not tell us because reasons. Okay, because we don't know what drives a lot of Star Citizen's communication. It might be that they've now got marketing teams and they've got so many plans that sort of all in place that like shit. We're literally waiting for this and this and this and this and this. Like, I've heard from some of my mates at CIG some of the stuff that they sort of roughly had planned for CitizenCon, and I was thinking, oh shit, that's pretty cool. That's a shame you're not doing it this year. So yeah, they've certainly been partly delayed by global lockdown and by not having CitizenCon this year. Might see a more playable version or more features in 3.12 because of that. But bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to pee pee poo poo wee wee. Oh. Fine. Oh. Also, hello. For those of you that are 40k and Warhammer and Games Workshop fans, one of the things I'm going to be doing is, at least on social media and occasionally on maybe a membership video update or something, going to be doing a 40k army. I'm doing a Adaptus Mechanicus, like nightly household. Lots of cavalry and stuff. Lots of these bad boys, these little stridey boys. Reasonably good painter, not awful, not the best in the world, but I'm pretty good. Good enough to make people go, that's pretty good. One of the plans is to go up and see John Crew and some of the CIG studio staff up in Winslow and play some games with them up there. So, oh, and pea and bottles, delicious. Yeah, I need and want CIG to be, as Matachi just said, they need to be more consistent on communication, talking about specific gameplay and mechanics and the long-term goals for lots of this stuff. Have a bit of a roadmap to completion, at least of the features they've got planned, and then start talking about that much more regularly. That, I mean, it's a bit of development as a service, Star Citizen, which is, it's very much its own thing, and that is to a lot of people would be almost offensive as a thing that they're doing. So they need to give us as much information as possible, and why not, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Naraka, it will be semi-competitive army. It's not going to be the most super optimized AdMech army, but it's going to be able to win, and still something I would take at a tournament, maybe with a couple of little tweaks. I'll probably put a Eviscer Assassin or a Vindicar Assassin in it as well. Bored, you should consider doing a podcast with some of the CIG devs. I would. I will contact Xylo and Ulf and see if they'll get me access to the devs to do podcasts and stuff with. I think if I start a podcast, again, I'll get some org leaders on, I'll get some people that make some Star Citizen apps, I'll get some other creators on and talk about some stuff that's relevant to the game and sort of a semi-interesting podcast that is mostly Star Citizen related. And then see if they can get devs on there from that as well. I think having something that obviously established as a format that works would be much more. CIG will be much more willing to then lend you their devs briefly. Development as a service is interesting like that. I mean, it's a term I've come up with and I talked about a while before, and it's something that CIG certainly do with Star Citizen. It's not the best look, but it is part of their monetization model and the game. And I think as long as they communicate enough, that's fine. But when they don't communicate enough, I get a bit annoyed, or think that it's at least inappropriate that they don't communicate enough. And I know a lot of the communication issues are being solved internally with these roadmaps and all the stuff they've got planned. But that does not excuse the short term. Well, I'll be building a 2,000 point army first for 40k. I know, like, the Astro Pub and stuff is getting banned to 40k as well, so get a load of creators. Hopefully a load of creators will also get into it. So I've moved away from Castellan robots for my AdMech. I'm going for the Iron Striders and lots of cavalry, so the Cerberus Raiders, and then a huge amount of Cataphrons with arc rifles, and then some Onager Dune Crawlers. It'll probably be Mars based with Batasaurus Crawl. Running orgs is hard. Running orgs is hard, and I haven't really run my BoredGamer or my Black Org for that very reason. It takes a lot of time and effort, and I'm going to be trying to get other people to help me run that for me. So like people like Zin, but a load of my mods, or people that are involved in the org, the people that I trust and that are good at running that stuff. When will that? What else we got? When servers in South America? ? Horrible ping for us, dude. So yes, I've heard that. Hopefully they'll scale their Amazon Web Services stuff to help with that in the future. Send me sacks of cash in the mail. That's good. That's a good idea. Thanks. Appreciate it. Or just on PayPal. OX. Well, it is coming soonish or later this year that you're looking forward to. So Mercury Star Runner 3.11. Really excited for that ship. Like, genuinely really excited. I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited for in 3.11, other than potentially the server code rework. If that is a big rework and we get server coded in a great state, awesome. Yeah. And there's cargo decks there as well, which it depends on how much gameplay is associated with them, whether I'm going to be excited for them or not. Obviously, it's exciting because it's adding to the game, the economy gameplay, and sort of like starting to go, well, we've got some more stuff ready for Quanta and the universe simulation. So 3.12, I'm actually quite excited again for another ship for the Shrike and the Talon. We've got the tractor beam stuff and the moving of cargo and moving of like potentially components and stuff. It's possible that we'll see a lot of other stuff in 3.12 as well. So like things like physical inventory, things like physicalized components, iCache, loads and loads and loads of stuff are possible. The Hercules Starlifter, the C2. There's a huge amount of stuff that is possible. Pyro and jump points and stuff like that, but we don't know what. Some of that stuff should likely be there, but not all. Yeah, I think CIG need a a community communications officer that's pure job is to fill in holes where they think that the community isn't getting enough information, correlate sort of like posts on Spectrum together for like dev responses, get devs more interactive with the community. Like Chad McKinney, he's been so interactive over the last week, and a load of other devs have as well on the Spectrum forums, which is absolutely great. Yeah, Chad is genuinely a hero. Do you have some information about the next Apoa Xi'an cargo ship? Not really. Beyond, they talked about a medium-sized, small to medium-sized Xi'an cargo ship that will help flesh out the Xi'an race. Makes sense. It will be available to humans to use. So like there'll be a human version of it. We don't know much more of it beyond that. It was originally talked about at CitizenCon 2019. Community managers aren't necessarily that have the specifics of doing what needs to be done when it comes to communication of the project to backers. So I'm not going to say their community managers are shit or not doing their jobs or anything, because I think like often people do amazing. I said do amazingly good jobs in Xylo. Obviously, Scolando does more of that, the video-based content and the subscriber stuff. You can see Lawville on BoredGamer's forehead. Fuck you. How about that? Do you think about that? What do you say? I know it will vary from user to user, but is 3.10.1 stable or not? Much more stable, as far as I'm aware. Have they shown any indication that they're struggling with server meshing? Well, they haven't talked too much about it, and obviously it's not in the game yet. Those are the two things that say they're obviously struggling at some point. It's obviously something that's going to take a long time to get implemented. A load of the services and systems they're building now are with server meshing in mind, and they've got lots of parts of server meshing sort of like that they've built, and we know that because we can read the monthly report for it. Is it true the more you really want CIG to develop a concept ship, the longer they'll take to start working on it? Wow. Yes, it is. Hey, Bod, as a fellow ginger beard rocker, glad to hear you'll be okay with Patreon. How far does the fire dynamic go? Firefighting or something more simple? So, at the moment, they are sort of prototyping and R&Ding fire on ships. So, they haven't 100% decided exactly how they want it to work, but they have the ability to have fire suppressions and extinguishers and room system and open air locks and suck all the air out. It has fuel and that sort of stuff. So let's see how they do it. Obviously, performance is an issue and the way it's sort of like calculated how it propagates. But R&D tests look good. Board. 1st of August, Norway got 25% VAT. Do you know if this counts towards the concierge money pledge meter? I don't for sure. I'd assume that any VAT you paid would count towards it, but I'm not sure. Hey, could you tell how sure you are that the Hercules C2 will be released before the end of 2020, please? I'm not 100% sure. It looks like that's the plan, but that is not a confirmation that the Hercules C2 will be released for 2020. It's not on the roadmap, and it is not confirmed for being in the 3.12 patch. However, I would expect it in the 3.12 patch. So Concierge and Star Citizen is people that have paid over $1,000 or more. Basically, you get access to a concierge customer service person. Access to. They look at your customer support emails. I think they're probably quite busy as well, just like a normal customer service person would be. You get like items as well, so 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 gives you some like access to specially skinned ships and gear and gold armor and things like that as part of the Chairman's Club. Also gets you access to the first wave of PTU, so not Evocati wave, but the first wave, along with subscribers. Hey you, do you have more money than sense? Yes, I do. Well, I'm big concierge. Sort of like, oh, oof. But, I mean, I've spent $3,000 on ships, so fuck you. How about that? To what extent is base building planned? Was looking at your universe recently and creating cities. So, not creating whole cities is planned, at least yet. But building outposts is, and lots of different types of outposts using the Pioneer, which is an outpost building ship. There might be other ways of setting up amps and other industry and stuff on planets, potentially. We don't 100% know yet. Thank you very much for the membership. Very much appreciated. I've now immediately lost whoever membershiped. But thank you. And there's seems to be problems. Nathaniel Tavener. Thank you very much for the sub. Very much appreciated. What else have we got here? It'd be awesome if your ship can drive itself. So, obviously you're about to get eventually NPC crews and AI modules for certain systems on your ship. But it's doubtful that ships will be able to fully fly themselves. There might be semi-automated landing stuff, so you can like they're building for the Constellation P-52 and P-72, docking undocking. I find 40k somewhat dull, waiting for your opinion to finish the whole opponent to finish the whole turn before you do anything. Okay, be tedious. I haven't played any of 9th edition yet, but I will soon. Is the Arrow the best fighter at the moment? I don't think so. I don't know the meta very well at the moment, though. Yeah, so the worst scenario tech-wise for CIG is that they hit a hurdle and it would either take them a long time to get over that hurdle, or they can't do it in the way they want it to, and they'd have to do it in the next best way. Have you noticed that EVA is or EVA is the only mode that does not have its own cycle camera view, otherwise known as third-person view camera? I've got customized cameras anyway, so I don't really notice that sort of stuff so much. What's the strat of your 40k army? Push into the center of the table and have the giant unit of Iron Striders, 5 of them, coming in from the side, shooting stuff. Pew, 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 pew. But it just pushes forward quite aggressively. It's pretty sturdy. Pretty durable castle moving forward. It just needs to wipe out certain units. It's actually all reasonably good in close combat, but very, very good against heavy infantry and vehicles. Should shred anything like that. And then hordes shouldn't be too much of a problem for the army just to crush them in pockets. Afternoon board, hope you are good. Loving my 1-year loyalty badge. Congratulations, I'm glad you like it. Your beautiful little avocado board face. yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to breaching ships properly with like blowing holes in the turrets and access points and stuff. Salvage when, please. We could see a very early tier 0 salvage for 3.12 if all the stars align. Because that would just be the, you know, removing of components and out of a ship. Do you know what I mean? Physicalized components. Tier 1, tier 0 salvage, isn't it? I just subscribed. How long should it take for my Paladin helmet to show up? I don't know. Check out on the August subscriber page. Let me link you the August subscriber page so you can work that out, mate. Boop. Okay, buddy. There you go, Ted. What happens if there are people taking the same NPC for a mission? Do you see the NPC's conversations with other players? Yes. If you're in the area, yeah. You would. And that might lead on to some other interesting missions or you being able to ambush them and stuff. Potentially. So obviously a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out for Star Citizen like that. But I love the idea and I love the potential of it. At its core, I want a good game that's not overly complicated. But then beyond that, they can have a huge amount of complication as well. But the core of the game needs to be playable and engaging still. Then it can have a huge amount of cool nuance and cool way you can do stuff and clever things that players can do. But the core of it needs to be able to stand on its own as well. There does exist board and craft in the lore, but not implemented in the game, so to speak, so far. That's true. Like the Vandal Claw and things like that. Cleaver? Vandal Cleaver? It's cool. I can't remember what it's called. When do you think we'll have the room system implemented in game? So we sort of have some of the atmospheric and room system in game, but a more updated, better version for player status and that sort of stuff is going to be dripped in. Right, I am going to dash off pretty soon, but we'll go through and lightning round any other questions I can see. Have you flown the car to Al? I have not flown it in 3.10.1. I flew it in 3.10 PTU and went, wow, this is a pretty strong sniper, because it flew really well and I was just flying around in Vandal Swarm, killing everything before it could even get anywhere near me. Should we have offline ways to test the AI? I mean, I'd like to see AI in Theatres of War and in Star Marine. Obviously, you have ways of testing them in Arena Commander. But yeah, there's some big AI updates coming. That's what it looks like anyway. Can't say for sure until they're on our hands. Certainly can't get any worse, the AI, certainly. Lol, lol, lol. How likely are ships in concept to go up in price? The older ships that were in concept years ago, that have yet to be made flyable, when they are flyable, are likely to go up a huge amount in price. So the Banning Merchantman, I would expect to go up a lot in price, yes. Isn't it frustrating to see they're working on improving water aesthetics in 3.11 and nothing at all about new gameplay loops or physical infantry? Yeah, I mean, I want them to communicate what's going on with them because they're obviously incredibly important. We know they're working on that, so I hope one day they will be able to capture this as an NPC in game. This. You think that if you're a subscriber, then you shouldn't have to own a game package? I mean, it's supposed to be a buy-to-play game, isn't it? Bored, you're a CIG kisser. I'm not sure what that means. And delusional. Well, I'm probably delusional, but I think probably everyone in the world's delusional in some way. You bring it down if you talk about it properly. But thanks very much for your opinion, Mark. Shrek or Talon, and why? You might execute, mate. So, I think the Shrek, the reason for that is that it's got a lot of missiles, isn't it? If you want to alpha strike something out of the Oblivion and just win an engagement, you alpha strike it. If you can take 3... So, say you're fighting against Talons, yeah, and they're far enough away that you can lock them all. Yeah? Just take out 3 Talons before they get near you, is the idea, maybe, potentially. Obviously, the Talon's got more stamina, so maybe flying as an escort fighter or something, you'd want the Talon, yeah? But the Shrike, you want to win an engagement quickly, and you're doing alpha striking and stuff like that. Something very much you can get in game, like every other ship, but I like the Shrike more, I think. Hey bro, I just got in Star Citizen after buying it in 2016. Can you give me a quick rundown on how the updates, wipes, and what are the features that we can expect before the end of 2020? So, that's quite a lot of information to go through. Star Citizen has changed quite significantly. You can land on planets, there's lots of space stations, lots of missions to do, that sort of stuff. It's worth experiencing the game a bit as a tourist, having a look around everything. Maybe, I think there's some lists they do on Reddit that suggest what you can and should do. But you can purchase like a load of ships in game now, pretty much all that are flyable. There's a reasonable amount of gameplay, but it is sort of like cargo missions. It's combat missions. You can assault an 890 jump and clear the pirates out. You can do some investigation of a caterpillar and prison breaky type stuff. There's prisons, sort of prison break at the moment, although I think they've sort of broken it currently in 3.10.1, and then I need to check. There's quite a bit going on. There's obviously cargo hauling and things like that you can do, but the game is very much still an alpha, quite buggy. If you're interested in playing, potentially get an organisation, but treat it as a tourist to start with. Have a look. Big cities and landing zones to move around now. Will we ever see our own hangars integrated into the game? Yes, that's the plan. We've talked about that. Physicalized hangars and habs are still a thing. When will docking come into the game? We don't know, but it was supposed to be in this year, so hopefully they'll still be able to put it in 3.12. Obviously, they've got some elements of that. They look like they're having the docking undocking for the P-52, P-72, and Constellation are being worked on at the moment. They've got the cargo decks and refinery decks that are in progress for 3.11 and 3.12, and it makes sense for them to have docking in 3.12, but Shrike, the most powerful $90 ship in game. Yeah, quite possibly. Might not have the most stamina though for long sort of like fights. Like if you know you're going to be fighting waves and waves and waves and waves of pirates like Vandal Swarm, and you only had 1 life, then the Shrike probably wouldn't be the best option. Do you see what I mean? Flight sticks viable in PvP? Yeah. I think some of the best pilots are flight sticked, especially with fixed weapon assist and auto gimbals. Fixed weapon assist is great, being able to aim and hit targets. I'm not sure if competitive players think of it like that, but at the moment, Star Citizen's going to be hugely rebalanced anyway. So from patch to patch. Anyone know how to increase the collection force on the rock? Get closer to the thing you want to collect, mate. I appreciate all the love. Thank you very much. One of the things I want to say is that, okay, if people dislike Star Citizen, or hate it, or angry at anyone for supporting it, backing it, or covering it, they're probably unreasonable, but they're still allowed their opinion, and then are still allowed to talk about it. I see a lot of stuff that is demonstrably false and incorrect, especially when it comes to personal attacks on people, and I don't want my community or the Star Citizen community to engage in that, even if it's in a defensive nature. There's no sort of excuse for that, retaliating in the same sort of way. If someone has got an opinion, let them share their opinion. Don't need to engage with them if you don't want to. However, I don't see a problem with engaging them and talking to them about their thoughts. Some people have, even if they are clearly think Star Citizen is a scam, they have good points, and they have, at least sometimes, some people have some good points, and you shouldn't ever dismiss their sort of like opinions just out of hand. Like, it's okay to have your thoughts and opinions challenged and stuff as well, and go, well, actually, how do you hold Kickstarters accountable? That's something that DS said. The man that shall not be named. It's like, well, he's right with that. Like, and it's just a lot of that stuff sort of gets swept under the rug because they also say some stuff that's very unreasonable. But I always try to give people the time of day, even if they're clearly trying to troll. Because how do you deal with trolls? Well, you make them to not troll. So I go, well, in my head, they're asking a valid question. Fuck them. Will the Talon punch above its weight class? 100% yes. The Shrike certainly will, mate. It'll get lighter and lighter and lighter as the fight goes on. I wonder if it does. I wonder if that... how. Obviously, missiles are going to weigh something. How much more agile is the Shrike after it's extinguished its payload? Can you use a large cargo room as a makeshift hangar to land ships and transport them? Not as far as we're aware. But maybe in the future. I don't know. I'm not sure the difference between cargo areas that you own and hangars will be. Maybe you'll just rent cargo space and it's not an actual physicalized space in the same way, though. Do you see what I mean? Hey, man. What is the Odin? Sorry for the typos. Don't worry about it too much. I might just be confused sometimes. So the RSI Odin is a sort of leaked, rumoured ship. That's going to be this RSI gunboat that they think might be shown by the end of the year. So, a new, potentially concept, potentially straight to flyable trip coming later this year is the expectation and rumour on that. But what is your opinion of people that criticise the game without knowledge of the current state of the game, inside game, etc.? Okay, but we don't know their exact knowledge of the game either. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. They criticise it without knowledge. Well, that's fine, knowing that they criticise it without enough research. That's enough for me. Going, okay, that's the way you see that without doing the full research. Now, what level of research is reasonable for people to do is the other thing. And that allows me to at least think of things like how it's portrayed to people that don't know about it, or that only know some stuff, or have only read the Forbes article and only watched Inside Gaming. Do you know what I mean? So it's important information. And I'm not going to rage at Inside Gaming for not doing enough, or I would say enough research. I mean, obviously they run a channel that's based on news and sort of like slightly tabloidy, or at least slightly sort of poking fun at stuff sometimes. It doesn't have to be fully researched. It's partially researched. And it's sort of like relaying what other news. It's like when I relay what Star Citizen's doing, I relay it directly from CIG, but I don't do a huge amount more research into, well, they say it's for here then, but is it for then? Like, I can't push too much about stuff because I don't have time to do that, or the contacts to be able to do that either. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not going to overly beat them, but just knowing that they're not fully researched is enough for me to when I'm getting my information from them. Another whole question there is, do you think that news outlets should be able to run with certain headlines, knowing that that's going to, people that don't read the full thing are going to think something that is untrue, or sort of media bias, sort of shock and clickbaity type stuff? That's a huge, interesting question and topic. You see it from the more critical and slightly more eccentric, potentially, Star Citizen or haters or whatever that people call them nowadays. I mean, a lot of them have got some, sometimes have got good points to be made. It's just often covered up by their quite over aggressive agenda at criticising, or the need to be right. You don't need to be right. As a human, this is BoredGamer knowledge. I am often wrong about everything I fucking do in my life, and I'm constantly paranoid I've done everything wrong. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have your mind change. You don't need to stay by your principles all the time. Learn to adapt and change and be okay with being wrong and learning new things and having those things that you thought were correct. Go, well, I'm different now. The times have changed and I'm different now. And that can happen on a daily basis and probably should. Like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to talk about other people's points of view. It's okay to... Yeah. When I assimilate news, I try to get it from lots of different sources, even though there's sources I think I go, oh my god, you are biased as fuck. Not everything in life you've done is wrong. Look, you are in prison. That's true, but what I mean by that is that there's lots of stuff I could have done better. Or lots of stuff that, with hindsight, you do better and stuff like that. But it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to do those things incorrectly. It's okay to be inefficient. It's okay to work on yourself. It's okay to have your opinions and all that sort of stuff changed. And try and assimilate and understand other people's points of view. Like, you don't need to convince anyone if you don't want to. I don't see that it's not your duty either to convince people, unless potentially they are children that you're disciplining. You don't need to hold them to account. Hold yourself to account, and try and do the right thing. I'm getting back into the sort of how I should lead my life and that sort of stuff, which is a very different topic. Sorry. Any news on upcoming in-game events since CitizenCon was cancelled? We know that there's something happening around October 10th, but we don't know what. This is the most inspirational stream ever. Thanks, Chris Roberts. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, I went on a fucking proper rant there. Went into... Let me tell you something, mate. I apologise. Don't let me tell you how to live your fucking life. Look at me. Oh, look at me, mate. Moderately successful YouTuber. Will we see the bomber torpedo ships carry one very large torpedo missile, like the Ares? Like the Ares with its one gun. You want just a giant single torpedo missile. I doubt it. Maybe there will be a literal ship that is a torpedo that you can fly, and it's just got an escape pod with just a payload attached, and it just eject out of it. That would be amazing. It's very Vandal, or maybe they make the Kurthak like that. Even bigger than a size 12. The size 12 is actually pretty fucking big though. So, the Eclipse is a good example of that. That's got 3 big torpedoes for its size. No escape, size 50, no escape pod. Drake, the Drake torpedo. I think the Argo Mole will have a refinery capacity screen inside. It will have some way of managing more of that mining side. Yes, at some point. That is a UI-based thing, I believe. I've been at BAC for 6 years and have spent almost $2,000 towards its development. But I have the feeling that I've been misled. Okay, well, feel free to voice that to CIG and talk about stuff. How often did you spend money to have $2,000 in its development? It's certainly a slow development process, and there's certainly been delays and problems with development, especially the earliest until sort of like the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. Though I do think the development is a significantly large portion more efficient and better now. It's still certainly not ideal. Do you think we will get to play as many of the alien races? So they said they wanted that. After release, they'll be looking at some of the more common ones. So I assume Banu, Tavaran, potentially Xi'an. But Banu and Tavaran are sort of like very, very much... Well, the Tavaran are part of the UEE, and the Banu are very, very, very intertwined with the UEE as well. I suppose Xi'an are to some extent. Are you starting to feel misled, or are you a true believer? For Squadron 42 and delays and stuff. I mean, they communicated the delays. There's obviously been problems and delays, and some of the way they communicated that and some of what they did is not appropriate or not what I would have liked. It's not about feeling that you've been misled or being a true believer. That's neither's true. I do believe from evidence that I have seen. So it's not a believe or well, it is a believe, but it's not a not a faith thing. It's a more empirical evidence thing that they'll produce a reasonably good game with Squadron 42. To me, that game, however, needs to be a 95 plus game. It needs to be a 9.5 out of 10 at least because of the amount of time and effort they've put into it and the amount of funding they've now got for it. So, will they be able to get to that? I don't know. I hope so. I mean, they've got a lot of the components to be able to do that. I think they'll be able to potentially do that, but we'll sort of have to wait and see. Squadron 42 video when? So they shoot themselves in the foot so often with the most small things, which becomes so big. They don't address them properly and they don't communicate them properly. And the Squadron 42 thing when is very much one of those things. I think even if they got a 9.5 out of 10 sort of thing, I think people would still complain that it's still not enough. Yeah, I think that they need to sort of like get Squadron 42 right to prove that they can make Star Citizen great. Do you know what I mean? This man might be called Chris Roberts, Stormfire. He's not impersonating him. Maybe he is, I don't know. I don't know all the terms of service. What am I, a Twitch partner? Do we know whether they are shrinking or growing the banner merchant? We're not 100% sure. Okay, we haven't seen the new banner merchant yet. Okay. Not properly, anyway. Do you think we're about to play as robots or cyborgs? Not really. I mean, you might be able to get augmented slightly because you've damaged and stuff on you, but robots and cyborg stuff is sort of like robot things don't work in the lore. I plan to get into Star Citizen in 2022. Do you think single player will be playable by then? Well, Squadron 42 should be out at the very least, which is a single player campaign. And Star Citizen should be significantly more playable in the persistent universe. It's quite annoying that channels like Inside Gaming, delegitimize criticism of CIG because they spread rumour. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, potentially, but people can do research if they want to, and people can believe cursory views of things if they want to, and typically somewhere in the middle, or at least there's some truth to something, and it's not as big as something else said. But you know, there's lots going on. But I think it's a bug. The game has areas below 163 absolute zero, and some places at minus 280, which is well below absolute zero and completely impossible. Fair one. Isn't Vandal basically just space Viking orcs? So there's lots of different tribes of Vandal, and I think that the tribe that we've seen for the most part are the more orcish ones. Do you think we'll have a big piracy ship that will be able to eject little boarding craft to attack? Okay, so it's interesting that someone was talking about boarding craft and skateboards and stuff the other day. They've got the tech to be able to do it. There obviously was Vandal landing claws and that sort of stuff as well, so maybe. Is the Grey Cat Rock able to drop cargo when it's filled up in the Freelancer? Not yet. No. I'm hoping that literally it will be able to eject its cargo into a box, which you can pick up, and then it will get another box. But in it. That would work really well for me. Then it makes it more viable to have all these big boxes of loot that you can then ship. Do you think there'll be a way of boarding ships without disabling them first? Yeah? You can sneak on board? Stealthy? Erebus, thanks very much for the bit. Board merch store in the verse. When and where? Well, let's get board merch more appropriately done in real life first, which I'll get Zin to do in his spare time over the month of September. Why do you think CIG decided to go with a single-player game and a multiplayer game rather than just multiplayer? Because Chris Roberts wanted to do a Wing Commander game, a spiritual successor to Wing Commander, which is single-player. But also, people wanted a multiplayer game, which was the First Person 2.0. That's a bit of a sweeping generalization and over simplification, but deal with it. Is the rock miner fixed? To some extent, yes. It is much more accessible now. What do you expect out of Squadron 42 gameplay? Think it will be very different from the Persistent Universe? Yes, so it's very much going to be a almost Wing Commander story. Sort of, you're in the military. It's going to be you walking around the ship, talking to people, seeing what's going on, daily life stuff, and then pre-briefing stuff, briefing, traveling to your mission location, doing the mission. Multiple things might happen, and then back to your ship, debriefing, walking around the ship while you're traveling to your next mission, and then sort of like the life of a pilot for what 20, 30 hours or so. So quite excited for that. I think that's going to be pretty cool. Think of it as a very specific role in the Persistent Universe with a lot of storytelling and sort of theme park rides going on. Obviously, much more curated. Should be pretty awesome. That's what I'm hoping. I don't know what's going to happen with the UE election stuff. They did say that they wanted players to be able to influence that to some degree. So, what else have we got? With the expected changes to missiles, do you think the Strike Talon will be viable long term? Well, we need to see what's going to change with missiles, but missiles will be balanced. Missiles will likely be quite a bit more expensive, and obviously they're going to affect ships in different ways, but we don't know exactly what's going on there. So I like the idea of the Strike, and missiles should be good, yeah? But at the moment, you can sort of like massively missile spam. If you could, in the full game, get the Strike, it'd be super powerful, missiles be super powerful, and then you just reclaim it after you've used all its missiles and got all its missiles back, that would be fucking bullshit, okay? There does need to be a lot of balance there. Are the Talon phalanx shields similar to the Squadron shields in terms of... Oh, so we don't know exactly what the phalanx shields are like. Okay, so let me... Until it's in our hands, I don't 100% know, but I believe the phalanx shields are going to have good stopping for ballistics, and that you can put the shields onto one face if you want of your shield of your ship. Go have all my shields at the front, and that'd be really effective at the front or really effective at the back. Yeah, but really weak on every other side. I believe that's what happens with them. Maybe. Any progress on the Idris mission? We have not heard anything more from them. I would expect them to be progressing. I'm hoping to see them in this year. I'm not sure why they're not, because obviously they had a reasonably effective time with the Fleet Week stuff, didn't they? It sort of worked. What is the state of the rock miner? Where can I go to sell what I've collected? At one of the outposts that you spawned it in at. That's where I'd recommend. Would you prefer the BMM to be capital size or shrink it, be more of a cat? I want it smaller than a big capital ship, but I want it much larger than a caterpillar. I don't know how to pronounce that shield. I just call them Tavaran shields. Wondering what options for quantum refueling off of the station might look like. Is this something CIG has talked about? They wanted a nozzle coming out of the Starfarer, and they wanted drones to be able to do it as well. I know that. Do you think the Talon will have a specific landing in atmosphere thing? Yeah, it's supposed to be able to have like a different silhouette from, obviously when it's in proper flight mode, it's like more of an eagle or a hawk. Oh, so it can glide through the air and be more maneuverable in atmosphere. Oh, I mean, it should be really effective at dive bombing, I suspect. I wonder how it does in wind. That shape and those feathers. Do you think physicalization and hab/refinery rental prices are implemented, so like we have lifetime insurance tokens, there'll be hab and refinery lifetime rental tokens? I'm a bit confused by that. You're going to potentially be able to place your own outposts that might have habs and refineries in. You're going to be able to use the services of stations with habs refineries in, and be able to pay for different refinery services. Beyond that, I'm not sure. Do you think the Starfarer will refuel ships in flight? I think so. Like that old NES Top Gun game. Yes, I remember playing that. What do you think we'll see next week, as it's meant to be Gamescom? Hopefully something cool and digital online for not just Star Citizen, but for lots of games coming out. I need more games. As I said, I'm going to be looking at Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous were kind enough to send me a load of cool loot and goodies. So we'll be looking at that. It's a... Hey, I'll hate you for whole different reasons other than being a missile spammer, Tachi, don't you worry. You monster. What do you think of a grey cat ship made to carry rocks? 6 baby. They just need to fix the caterpillar so that its side lifts work, and then you've got that already. Roadmap when? Do you think they'll ever stop introducing new ships during development, or they or making new ones until full release? I think they'll still be making new ships after full release. I think they'll still have ship sales. Do you think there will be sabotage weapons like satchel charges? Yeah. Almost certainly. There's going to be e-warfare, there's going to be hacking, there's going to be... They wanted demolition charges for salvage. I would expect to see gadgets and other things like that are, satchel charges, mines, things like that. With 3.11, we are just getting cargo decks or cargo missions as well. Don't 100% know. I would expect gameplay around cargo decks, like escort missions and things like that as well. Just to clarify my question about refinery and hab tokens, I meant for refineries on stations, you could have a lifetime rental token, which allows you to store things for no cost at refinery. Maybe. I know there's going to be guilds and things like that will give you money off things, or for subscriber, in-game subscribing stuff. You'd be able to have access to other facilities and stuff, potentially. Do you think we will get player-owned stations and region sovereignty like an EVE Online? Almost certainly eventually. Whether or not that's planned at the moment is another whole thing. Player-owned stations. They talked about player-managed stations as part of the stretch goals, so I would expect some form of way of taking over some stations. I'd love it if we could build stations. Maybe that's a bit too much to ask for. And zones, like Pyro even, maybe other players can control them, but you'd have to control them by saying you control them and then blockading them and having the structure in place. It might not be a game-assisted system. Any news about balancing hovercraft? I know they're going to be doing some work on the flight model stuff and the ground model stuff for all of that, for atmosphere, for wheeled vehicles and for hover vehicles. That's what I'm trying to say. But to what extent exactly when, I don't know. If you had to guess, how long would this take to release PU and Squadron 42? I'd expect to see Squadron 42 within the next year. Live and Persistent Universe a live release for the persistent universe is years away, years and years away. So like 5 years away, most likely. Right. 3.10 pillar talk when. Haven't heard when, but we need one really because we want to see Chris Roberts. Oh, I think a lot of people want to see Chris Roberts, although I don't think it's essential we see him because, really we need to see lieutenants often like Brian Chambers, Todd Pappy, Tony Zerovic, those sort of people. Aaron, but I would like to see Chris as well because a lot of us backed based on Chris's original vision, and we like hearing from him because it makes you feel like you're at least holding CIG a bit more to account when you hear from him. So, do you think there's any realistic chance the lost in-game ship purchases will be restored? It's possible, but very unlikely. I remember you having back problems. Am I correct? Anything help with that? Yes. So, leg rolls. So I do every day. I do maybe about half an hour of exercises and stretches, which helps a lot and makes me feel a lot healthier as well. I've got a little bit of a bad neck. My back's occasionally bad, but a little annoying. I go for runs and I do lots of leg rolls and exercises, well, stretches. I'm late. You are. I'm just about to dash off. Question may have already been covered. BoredGamer, do you think we will have more missions-orientated gameplay this year? Namely, data running or smuggling to go with the MicroStar? Don't know. They haven't really talked about it much. I know there's lots of missions that have been R&D'd, and lots of potential missions and more missions coming. Is there going to be any sort of like hugely new, exciting ones? I'd hope so. I mean, Eddie Parr and stuff like that should be coming along with mission chains. They're expanding some more gameplay missions based on some of the features that are going to be added, but I don't know to what extent exactly. I haven't got any specifics on that. Do you think Chris Roberts plays in the PU? I think he occasionally plays, but I don't think he plays for a huge period of time. He probably does not play and enjoy his game in the same way that most other backers do. He probably looks at it and goes, "Oh, this is pretty cool." Right. How do you think Dual Universes going into beta next week will affect Star Citizen development? Hopefully, Star Citizen will be able to look at the good things and the bad things about Dual Universe and be able to use that to help their game. I'm going to be playing some Dual Universe and checking that out. I'm going to be playing some Elite Dangerous Odyssey and checking that out. And whether that's to play for my enjoyment and to have on the channel as well sometimes, or if it's just to be more informed about those games and be able to talk about them in relation to Star Citizen. Probably both. I've never used a Plexus wheel, no. Hey, Board, enjoying the sloppy drifting garbage 3.10 model. It's better than... Okay, it's not as good as 2.6.3. That's what I'll tell you. Okay. I think it's potentially going in the right direction, though. But there needs to be a lot more work done to it. It's unrefined. The way I'll say it, that's a very kind way of saying it, isn't it? But I still prefer it better than what we had before. I'd say before, after 3.2, sorry, after 2.6.3. Chris may be locked in a closet. That is true. Corsair or Mercury Star Runner? Mercury Star Runner. For me personally, I like the Star Runner, but I also have a Carrack, so. Right, I'm gonna dash off. Thank you so much for watching today. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much for all the bits and the subs and the donations. Very much appreciated. I'm sorry that I'm not dashing off early. Stay for 10 hours and 10 minutes, which is good. No, that's me. Don't want me. I want to see who else is streaming. We will pass it along to Super Mac Brothers Ryan. Give him some love. But thank you so much for watching me today. Sorry I had a bit of a rant about how you should live your life. I mean, you do you, yeah? I think it's pretty fair. You do you. Doesn't have to be the same as anyone else. Just, be civil, don't be a dick, is my suggestion. I understand people have different points of view, and that's fine. I'm going to go and give Super Mac Brothers Ryan some love. But thank you very much for joining me today. It's very much appreciated. Thanks for all the kind words. Thanks for all the questions. That really does help. Please, if you've got any orgs that you want me to spotlight, get me at contact@boredgamer.co.uk, or more easily and probably better, discord.gg/boredgamer. You can come onto my Discord server and say hi. But I'm starting Org Spotlight up again in the next few days. We're going to be looking at Synchronizers again, who's Org I covered before, but covering again because I needed to get some stuff in place, and they helped me out, and it's all good. Right, love you guys. You take care. Talk to you soon. Try 3.10.1. Tell me what you think, and love you. Peace.